Hey guys, and welcome to or back to the Pause in Pursuit podcast with your host, Summer Clark. So, little disclaimer, if the audio sounds different to normal in this episode, it is because I'm currently sat in the living room recording instead of in my bedroom where I normally sit to record the episodes. That is because I have the perfect view of Arrow, who is currently in the kitchen. So we are separated by a baby gate. He is in his donut bed looking very sorry for himself, and I am in the living room on the sofa just looking at him every now and again to make sure he is all right, because he did have his castration yesterday. Been meaning to get it done for so long. I wanted to get it done last winter, but we didn't know if I was going to be competing at Olympia at the end of December, so it never really happened during that period when I really should have got it done, so we didn't want to do it. And then when we realised that we weren't going to do Olympia, it was like just over a month till tryouts. It was obviously, end of December, start of Jan. So it was like, well, tryouts are mid-Feb, so can't really get it done now. Or we could have, but it would have been a bit scary just in case his healing took a bit longer than it should do. So we thought, you know what, now is the perfect timing. Not only is it the winter and we have no agility, like I said, until mid-Feb, and no competing, but also Arrow is currently coming back from a little niggle now. So that is how I'm going to start this episode. Basically, I'm going to be telling you where we've been recently and what's been going on, because I haven't been doing kind of personal updates on previous episodes of the podcast over the last, I'd say, couple of months, because I've had nothing really to report on. And anything that I did have to report on, I kind of didn't want to talk about yet, if that makes sense. But today, now we know what's occurring, I'm going to tell you. So yeah, some of you guys may have wondered why. One, I wasn't giving any personal updates on the pod. And two, why I haven't posted a single agility video since the start of October, and it's now the end of November. So, story time. The first weekend of October, I noticed that Arrow was slightly lame on his right forelimb. Now you just know, don't you? You know what I was feeling in that moment, that like heart sinking, horrible. Yeah, it was horrible. So I took him to see the fabulous Megan Hunt. Megan is our physio, or Arrow's physio, shall I say. She's a vet physio, and yeah, we're sponsored by her as well. She's just amazing. Arrow loves her to absolute pieces. I think he actually loves her more than me. The reaction he has when he gets there for his sessions is so cute to watch. But anyway, yeah, so Megan normally checks him every month anyway, but obviously I booked in like a help appointment on that weekend, and there didn't seem to be a problem. Megan didn't find anything. He wasn't really presenting, he wasn't presenting any signs at all, except the slight limp. Like when Megan felt him and checked him over like she normally does, she couldn't feel any sign of an issue, so we were quite baffled. However, the limp did get worse over the next couple of days and was more prominent on certain surfaces. For example, concrete and gravel was way worse than like grass and carpet, which was weird. So to me, I was like, well, me and Megan were like, oh, surely it's something to do with his paw then, But, I looked in his paw, couldn't feel anything. Megan fiddled about with his toes, no pain response at all. There was no heat either in any parts of his body to suggest a muscle tear or minor pull or anything like that. So we were very confused. So basically, when it got worse, I was like, right, that's it. I put him on strict rest over the next few weeks and got him booked in for a full contrast CT scan. I know it sounds dramatic, but I just needed to get some answers, especially with the things that I'm going to be asking him to do next year, and him being my only agility dog and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Let's just not guess. Let's not wonder. Let me not sit here in anxiety for any longer. So I got him booked for a CT scan as quickly as I could. That was a few weeks away though. So I literally just rested him for those weeks, just because I was like, well, I don't want to make anything worse when I don't know what the problem is. He then had that scan. I was so scared, waiting for that phone call to say what had been found. I was like, no, this could be the end. It was horrible. However, fortunately, the scan did come back completely clear and he's completely injury-free, which is, oh, thank God. We're still not sure what the initial problem was, but it's a relief to know that there's nothing underlying going on. He had the full contrast scan of that entire forelimb. They also did his back and his neck as well, and there's absolutely nothing there whatsoever. So yeah, they said he's in great shape, he looks great, so fit, stuff like that. So yeah, bizarre because we're still not sure what the initial problem was, But we're thinking, it was probably just a little tweaked or pulled muscle or something really small that he was just being quite dramatic over. Because, when you just get a little twinge of something, and it's not like a massive tear or a massive injury, so it's not like it's hot or swelling or anything like that. It's just tiny little tweak in there. And you can feel it, can't you? Even if to other people it's not obvious or anything like that. So I think he just tweaked something and was being dramatic. And then the strict rest, I put him on for, I think, nearly a month, to be honest. I think it was 3 or 4 weeks he was on strict rest. I think, obviously, it healed. Whatever it was, it healed in that time. So then he had the scan and there was nothing that showed up. So, massive sigh of relief there. Needless to say, the uncertainty of it all between, the lameness and then actually getting the scan done made me a very anxious human over the past month. So that was probably 6 weeks in total that all that was happening over. And to be honest, I just didn't want to say too much publicly until we knew exactly what was going on, which is pretty unusual for me because I am a chronic oversharer, as everyone knows. But this time I was like, you know what? It's just another thing. We've had loads of things, haven't we? And I'm always on here like talking about them, moaning about them, stuff like that. And I'm thinking, you know what, this time I'm just gonna keep it to myself, see what happens, and then obviously share when we know. But now we know that he is fit and well. Happy days. We have a plan in place, courtesy of Megan, to get him back to his usual level of agility by the new year. So Megan gave us a 6-week plan to get him back to his usual level after that 6 weeks. However, we have also had, again, this is a decision that we've taken so long to decide on, getting him castrated. We know it needs doing because he's extremely bitchy. He's just a bitchy dog, okay? And he does get distracted by smells of bitches on the start line, stuff like that. And I've said this before, it's not a new story. If I don't have him on the start line, I just don't have him for the whole run. And it was really affecting him. So I was like, you know what, it needs doing, especially before next year when, I want him to be doing all these international sort of, GB tryouts, FCI stuff where bitches in season can compete and stuff like that. He has to have his balls off, basically. So, yeah, we all discussed, we came together, I asked Megan, stuff like that. And we decided now is the perfect time to get it done because the recovery for a castrate is quite quick. So while he's already out of it, and we need to build him back up, we may as well do that as well now. So I don't build him up fully for him then to have another month off and then rebuild him back up after that. Like, there's no point going through that process twice. So we've decided that we'll get him done now, and then in a couple of weeks he'll be able to start building back up as we were anyway. So we only did week 1 of Megan's plan before he got castrated, just to make sure he's sound doing stuff. We were doing some small jumps, grids, straight tunnels, stuff like that. And he was absolutely fine. He was so happy to be back at agility. And now he has to be out of it again for a bit. But hopefully not too long this time. Well, not too long because it's a castrate. We know exactly what that entails and stuff like that. But that's what's been going on. And, even though Arrow's injury free, he was a lot less active than usual over the past, I think, like I said, it was 6 weeks. And the last thing we want to do is rush him back into intense work because that's when he could pick up another injury, obviously. So it is a slow process, kind of bringing him back. Same thing after his castrate. It's going to be nice and slow and basic. But by the end of the new year, I'm hoping end of new year, start of Jan, he'll be back up to normal fitness. Maybe with the castrate now, it'll be maybe a week, 2 weeks into Jan, potentially, which gives us just over a month to really hammer the GB tryout prep. Like I said, I want to say luckily, but it's not lucky. But fortunately now, obviously I was out for so long all last winter with my stress fracture. Arrow did keep in it, but we weren't training like we weren't prepping like we wanted to, but we still did really well. Well enough, obviously, at the tryouts to get picked for the teams. And then we did so well in the summer, stuff like that. So I'm not concerned as far as being out of training and out of agility over winter. And to be honest, this is the 3rd year now. This is the 3rd consecutive October, actually, that something has taken us out of agility for a period over winter. So it was me the first year, that was my Achilles tendonitis. Me the 2nd year last year with my stress fracture. And now Arrow. So it seems we have a bit of a month-specific curse on our hands, basically. I am now terrified of October. October usually is my favourite year. I love spooky season and getting into autumn and stuff. But now I'm scared of October, yeah? So if you want to jump scare me, DM me October and I'll be like, I'll get scared. But anyway, you know what? Let's be honest, would it even be our journey without regular intervals of character development and character building? I don't think so. Like, that's how it is for us, isn't it? This is just another one of those. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm glad it's all over. And now we can smash the back to work plan, obviously give Arrow time to recover from his castrate, and then smash our back to work plan and another comeback. We're very good at comebacks, aren't we? You know, so again, I'm not stressing too much because we've been here so many times before and it's just another one of those, isn't it? So yeah, once he's recovered from his castrate, we will be keeping busy doing Arrow's strengthening exercises, so his strength and conditioning plan, enjoying our walks and just gradually reintroducing agility week by week. And then we can crack on with GB tryout prep. Why can I not say that? Excuse me, I've just had my lunch. I'm like belching. That's gross. But yeah, so that's kind of a little personal update. I was spiraling majorly about it when it to start with. Like, some of you might be thinking, how are you so like chill and calm and fine about it? But I wasn't. I'm just now I know Arrow's fine. I'm completely fine, but it was horrible, to be honest. It was very, very horrible. But like I said, hopefully out of it now. Bless him. He's so miserable. He's clearly not knowing what's hit him with the castration. But he'll be back to it very, very soon. And it's great to know that, you know, he's not injured, you know, he's fighting fit, stuff like that. So that is our own little personal update. I know we haven't done that for a while, but yeah, apart from that, there's not been anything to update you guys on. Hence why I've been skipping the personal weekly update sections of the podcast, but there you go. There's the update for the past 2 months. We then did receive our invitation to GB tryouts in Feb, so that is very exciting, and yeah, we can really look forward to that. And there's something there to, you know, not that we need motivating to get back to it, but just something to work towards. Like I said, I always like something to work towards. So yeah, good times, everything's fine, but that is where we've been, and that is why there's been pretty much no agility videos on any of my social media, and I also haven't been speaking about stuff on the podcast as such. So yeah, there you go, over 10 minutes of me just explaining what's been occurring. But the actual, and I'm going to say it again, I hate it when I say this, but it makes sense. The meat of this episode is going to be how to survive your first year in agility. Okay, so this was actually a requested topic by one of you guys on Instagram, so thank you. So I'm going to give you my top tips. I believe I have 10 tips on how to survive your first year in agility, including things like how to condition your dog to the agility lifestyle and how to build mental resilience to the sport as a partnership. Okay, so any of you guys who are new to agility or wanted to get into agility or in your first year of agility, this is my advice. So, number 1, have realistic expectations. Okay, this is very, very important. During the first year of doing anything new, so not just agility, anything, you shouldn't expect amazing results, okay? You have to think of this year as the year for you and your dog to learn the ropes of the sport and develop your understanding of the most basic principles, okay? So get your foundations down, you know, really nail what you're doing in training, you know, have a training plan, find a trainer, get those basic foundational principles down and nailed, not expecting to start competing straight away and winning everything. Okay, it's all about starting from the ground up. So this will allow you to achieve your goals in the future. Okay, so that's really important. I know it's very easy to get carried away and go in oh yes, let's start competing, and it is all very exciting, I know, but that isn't and can't happen straight away. Okay, you have to build up, be patient. Okay, trust the process, get the basics down, and not expect tons in your first year. My first year of competing in agility was nothing special, okay? In fact, a lot of the first few years wasn't anything special, okay? With all my dogs. So, you know, just don't expect it, because if you do expect it, you will be disappointed, and then you'll potentially be thinking, why am I not achieving this and this and this? So you've really got to keep those expectations fairly low. and just concentrate on enjoying it and learning, okay? Not achieving everything that is in your wildest dreams, because this is not the year for that to happen. In the future, yes, if you do this first year right and concentrate on the basic things that you need to concentrate on. So point number 2 kind of does relate to point number 1. Set achievable goals. So the first point is true. However, having realistic goals that are achievable in relation to your current level will motivate you to put the necessary work in. So just because you have to have realistic expectations doesn't mean you can't set yourself goals and things to achieve. They just have to be realistic and achievable. So do write down your goals, but just make sure that they are in relation to where you're at, which is quite low as far as level because it is your first year. Okay, so think, this is my first year, this is where we're at. What goals are in reach but will still sort of motivate me to push myself, if that makes sense. So these goals don't have to be results-based and shouldn't be results-based in your first year. For example, one of your goals may be to enter and compete at a certain amount of shows by the end of the year. Say you've been training for a few months, and you and your dog can do all the equipment, and you're feeling good about it. You've got a training plan. You're feeling confident. Think, well, okay, I want to enter and compete at 5 shows by the end of the year. Okay, very realistic because you're in complete control of that, and that just pushes you out of your comfort zone to go and get started competing so that you can learn about competition and get used to the environment. Okay, so that is a great, realistic, achievable, non-results based goal, okay, for beginners in your first year of agility. Okay, and by all means, you can put a few results based ones in there if you want. For example, get your first win in agility or jumping. That's very achievable. Okay, so those kind of level of goals for your first year, and just write them down, use them as motivation, but make sure that it's likely that you will and can achieve them if you put the work in. Okay, do not make them impossible. Do not make them too hard considering your level. Don't put yourself like 3 years forward. Kind of just accept that you're in your first year and embrace that. Okay. Point number 3, start prioritizing life's most basic principles. Now, this sounds really basic and quite silly, but the agility lifestyle involves plenty of early mornings, late nights, long days, and even longer drives. Okay. Therefore, it is super important that you prioritize sleep and recovery, okay, for yourself and your dog. Make sure you're both resting, recovering, and sleeping a nice amount every week, okay? In addition, agility requires a certain level of handler fitness. Therefore, make sure to eat a healthy diet and exercise on a regular basis if you want to feel and perform at your best. Now, disclaimer, you do not have to go crazy. You do not have to get a gym membership. Just make sure that you're doing something so that you feel good and you feel fit, so that when you do agility, you feel good and you feel fit. Simple as that. And different types of exercise works for different types of people. Okay, maybe you're like me and you love lifting weights. Maybe you just love going on a weekly 5K jog around your area. Maybe you do want to push it a little harder and practice, do your footwork drills, do some sprint intervals specifically for agility. Just anything that makes you feel good and feel fit. And then healthy diet as well. Doesn't have to be fancy, overcomplicated meals. In fact, keeping it simple is best. Aim for whole foods. And again, trial and error, what makes you feel good, do that, okay? Don't forget that these things apply to your dog as well as yourself. So your dog wants to be eating a good, substantial, healthy diet, okay? Because that's going to make them more healthy and fit and feel better as well for when they do agility. And also they should be getting regular exercise, their walks, their runs around. Strength and conditioning exercises are good, but make sure you find your dog a professional vet physio if you're going to do that. Which is a bit like finding a trainer, isn't it? Finding these people that are experts in the field of agility that can help you with the different areas. But again, doesn't have to be too complicated. Just make sure your dog's getting their walks, getting their off-lead runs, stuff like that. Doing their little tricks to keep them mobile and flexible and supple and all those things, okay? And yourself for stretching as well. Do your stretching, mobility, just so both of you feel fit and well for agility, because the better you feel and the better you can move, the better you are going to be at agility and the more you're going to enjoy it. So Point number 4, don't let the pressure to keep up with others affect you. This is such a hard one, and I still sometimes struggle with this, okay? Everyone within the agility community has different goals, a different definition of success, different lives outside of the sport, and a different amount of time and money to allocate to it, okay? This is different for literally every single person. So focus on doing the best that you can do under your own circumstances. Not everyone can or wants to compete every single weekend or chase every single qualifier, okay? Just because other people are doing something does not mean you have to or should do it. So don't feel pressured to do exactly what other people are doing. Don't let them make you think that you're not doing enough. Because again, what is enough? There is no such thing, especially during your first year. You do not want to overdo it. So that you burn out or get injured or your dog gets injured or loses interest. You do not want to do that. So, just take it at your own pace and do what you can and want to do. Okay, focus on enjoyment. Yeah, because like I said, everyone is so different, and you may not have as much time to allocate to the sport as others. Maybe you're comparing yourself without realizing to someone who does agility as a job, teaches it as a job. And you have an office 9 to 5, okay? And it's dark before and after work and you can't train as much. Maybe you have a family, whereas you're comparing yourself to someone who is single and lives on their own, for example, just them and the dog. So, it's going to be different for everyone. Some people also just don't want to compete at a really high level, for example, and qualify for all these things and do agility, have no free weekends. Not everyone, some people want to do that, some people don't, okay? There is no right or wrong. That is the main thing I want to say with this point. There is no right or wrong, so don't let other people make you feel like you're doing anything wrong. Point number 5, learn to accept failure as an integral part of the process, okay? So again, not just agility. If you're going to compete in a sport of any kind, you will, emphasis on will, fail on a regular basis, okay? Quote, in air quotes, fail. By fail, I mean have a bad run, get eliminated, get faults, not place in the results, or have a bad training session where your dog fails, again, quote unquote, fails some of the skills you ask them to do, and you're just not feeling connected, okay? We all have that. Even when you've been doing agility for 15 years, you'll have that, okay? It's how you deal with and learn from the failure, each failure that you have, moving forward, that really matters, okay? So you have to learn how to endure failure, because you can't learn to endure it, then the agility lifestyle will make you miserable, okay? Because it's a sport and you can't be amazing all of the time, neither can your dog, okay? So you really have to learn to accept and embrace failure and just concentrate on learning as much as you can from each failure to improve next time. That is the only thing we can do when we fail, is learn from it and use it to get better, okay? Point number 6, learn to perform under pressure and without letting the watchful eye of others negatively affect your performance, okay? So again, any sport that you do that has an audience, which is pretty much any sport, you will feel an element of pressure. So you'll feel an element of pressure from yourself because you want to do well. You will also feel an element of pressure from people watching because, we're humans. We don't like the thought of other people judging us or thinking badly of us, okay? Even though they probably aren't at all, we think that inside our heads, don't we? Even at training, if you're in a group setting, in training, if you're in a group class, you'll probably feel a bit of pressure because other people are watching you, okay? But you have to learn to perform under that feeling of pressure, again, which just comes with experience and getting yourself out there, and learn to switch off from the fact that people are watching you, okay? And you just can't let that affect your performance too much, okay? You have to learn to deal with it. You can't get rid of it, but you can learn to work through it. Like I said, you can't escape the inevitable pressure of competing in a sport, nor can you tell the audience to cover their eyes or look away when you're running. You just can't. Instead, try your hardest to view any anxiety and nerves, which you will have, especially during your first year, as necessary adrenaline and excitement to fuel your performance. Okay? So if you didn't feel any of those nerves, you wouldn't have any adrenaline that's going to keep you alert and make you move fast and perform well. Okay? So you need that. Thank God I've got this, otherwise I wouldn't be on the course. Okay? And then excitement as well. Think, no, I'm not scared, I'm excited. Because those two feelings actually feel very similar, don't they, really? So Again, perception is everything. Not perception. Yeah, perception. Perspective. You know what I mean? Perspective is everything. Okay? Absolutely everything. You have to learn to adjust your perspective to a more positive light, and then use all of these quote unquote negative emotions that you don't think you should be having or don't like to have, use them for good. Okay? Oh, just choked on my own saliva. Number 7, be a sponge and learn as much as you can from as many people as you can. Okay? Surround yourself with and make an effort to reach out to handlers that are experienced in and knowledgeable about the sport. And there's loads. The agility community is massive. And online these days, on Facebook, on Instagram, all these things, there's just a massive pool of people that have been doing agility longer than you, okay? Probably most people if you're in your first year, okay? So the world is literally your oyster. You've got all these people that you can ask and learn from, and you'll find that the majority will be more than happy to help a new handler learn and progress. For example, me, I love the thought of helping someone who's new to the sport, okay? Because it is an uncertain time when you're first starting anything new, like I said earlier in the first point. But, we've been through it and we know a lot about it by now. So reach out to people. Reach out to them and ask them questions, okay? Never stop learning. Every day's a school day, as they say, okay? So don't be scared to reach out to these people. Like I said, the worst that can happen is they don't reply to your message. Really not the end of the world, okay? You'll probably not even notice if they don't reply to your message. Just send the messages, okay? And you'll probably find most people do want to help and will have a conversation with you, okay? So really, really do that. I know it can feel uncomfortable to start with, but definitely try to learn as much as you can from as many people as you can, because as well, everyone has a slightly different perspective, slightly different experiences. So you want to make sure that you're having these conversations with lots of different people where you can. Point number 8, gather a positive and impactful support system around you. So first of all, find a trainer that you click with, make new friends to talk to and train with, and that you can catch up with at shows, which again is quite easy when, again, I say the agility community is massive, but it's also quite niche and it's generally the same people at the shows, isn't it? Like, we all recognise each other by now. And you'll learn to recognise everyone as well. So, make sure that you're talking to people either in your group training classes or in your course walking groups, at competitions, or just around the rings, okay? If you've got that one trainer there that gets on with, you understand, they understand you and your dog, you're comfortable with them, they're really knowledgeable, you're sorted, okay? So first of all, make sure you find that trainer. And then, don't be shy. Try and make those new friends, those new connections within agility by just talking to people. You don't even have to do it in person. Like I said, social media is huge now. Everyone is online pretty much within agility. So you can reach out to people over message if you are more comfortable. And involve your family and existing friends, even if they're outside of, especially if they're outside of agility, in your new pursuit. And if someone isn't supportive of your interests or lifestyle, then you're under absolutely no obligation to continue involving them, okay? If they're not supportive or not interested, you do not have to try and make them so, okay? Again, I was reading the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Let them, okay? I'm going to use that. Let them, okay? You don't force them to be interested or support you. It's your decision. It's your life. You're doing it. You're enjoying it. You can try to include those people in your support system, but if they're pushing back, if there's resistance, then just let them. Just leave it. You'll find people that support you and understand you within agility anyway, okay? Point number 9, invest in the gear. Now, I know this is very spenny. I know spending money isn't what you probably want to hear at this point. However, it is around the Black Friday time when this episode comes out. So there's definitely still Black Friday deals going on. So invest in good gear for agility. So agility is, for the most part, an outdoor sport. And both yourself, and even when it's not outdoors, even when it's indoors in the winter, it's still bloody freezing, isn't it? Okay, still freezing and muddy. In the car park's all muddy. And it's freezing. Often, I think, the indoors are more colder than the outdoors. The air is just like ice. Yeah? I don't know if that's just me, but I think they're freezing. But But anyway, both yourself and your dog are therefore going to be exposed to a variety of weather conditions. Therefore, it's important that you invest in good quality kit for both of you. So, for example, treat yourself to some new trainers because, again, if you don't have the right footwear for agility, you're not going to perform as well. And buy your dog a nice warm coat that's going to keep their muscles warm for those winter shows. Because again, it sounds simple, but keeping your dog warm in nice warm gear between runs will potentially stop them pulling a muscle when they run, okay? Because cold muscles tear. So obviously you want to do your warm-up, but if your dog's been sat there in the van freezing for the past 3 hours, then you get out even a warm-up. They could pull a muscle during the warm-up if they've been that cold. So nice warm coat for the dog. And then, you treat yourself to some new trainers. Nice grippy running shoes. Or some non-grippy running shoes if you want some Astro shoes. I actually do want some new Astro shoes for the new year, by the way. So if anyone can drop their best Astro turf suitable trainers, please do. Please drop them. Please send me a message. Please comment on this podcast episode. I would like Rex, okay? Because my shoes are grippy and they're not really suitable for Astro particularly. I have been running on Astro in them, but I just want some nice, ideally all white trainers that I just wear for Astro. So they're never going to get dirty because I just wear them for Astro. And so please drop your Rex if you have any. Please send them my way. But buy yourself some new trainers, maybe some new leggings, some activewear sets, have a good time. And like I said, not only is shopping fun, apart from the looking at your bank account afterwards, but you will feel so much better. If you're comfortable and well kitted out, you will perform better, you will feel better, both you and your dog. Okay, so invest in the gear. And again, if you don't know where to go, what gear to get, again, online, social media, Facebook, literally all these things, okay? What's it called? You've got things like Agility World. What other clothing shop? There's other clothing shops and trainer shops and stuff that are at agility shows in the summer, but I can't remember what they're all called. But and ask on Agility Net. Recommendations for trainers, recommendations for the best running leggings, stuff like that. Just recommendations for the best dog coats. Just ask, okay? And do some web searching. You will find something. Last point then, point number 10. Remember why you started and enjoy the process more than the outcome. This is so, so important, especially during your first year when you're still building that love for the sport, that you're getting used to the lifestyle. It is very easy to get caught up in the competitiveness of the sport and lose your initial love for it. It's happened to me several times, and I always plug this point when I'm talking about agility. Pretty much every kind of episode that involves mindset in any way, I say this because it's happened to me so many times. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. It is very, very sad. So just try to regularly remind yourself that you started agility for the love of working with your dog, training your dog, spending time with your dog, and try to focus on the training process more than your competitive results. Okay, that is huge. Just love the process, love the learning, love working with your dog, and the competition is a bonus. The competition is the next step up, and the results are extra, especially during your first year. During your first year, you must just make sure that you and your dog are having a great time, because the more you do it and the more years you're in it and the higher up you get in the competitive world, it's only going to get the pressure's only going to build kind of thing. It's only going to get more competitive the higher up you get. So enjoy it now when it is still more about the training and the learning and stuff like that, because it is a very fun stage. Okay. And I'm very much looking forward to just going back to the basics of training and foundations and stuff when I get a puppy next, my next dog. So enjoy it because you're in a very, very fun stage of the journey. And like I said, you're in it for the long run. There's no rush, no pressure. This is all part of it. Enjoy it while you're in it. And that is all of the points, guys. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please let me know. Please leave a comment. Please also leave the podcast a 5-star rating or review if you are feeling generous. That's either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you stream your podcast. I know there's several platforms these days, but they're the main two I use. The podcast is also on YouTube, actually. So you can also go like, comment and subscribe over there. But make sure you're following the podcast too so you don't miss any future episodes. I have some amazing, exciting guests lined up in the pipelines for future episodes, so you do not want to miss those. I hope you guys all enjoyed my podcast with Max Sprins last week. I've got some amazing feedback from that. Like I said, everyone loves Max. So yeah, more episodes and guests just like that coming very, very shortly. So make sure you're following. And please do follow me on social media at Pause in Pursuit or Summer Clark. You can keep up with my entire life pretty much on there. I also advertise my latest podcast episodes over on there, so you can quickly click the links and listen immediately on my stories. And if you have any questions for me at all, or about anything I've spoken about in this podcast episode, or like I said, just anything, any questions for me, please pop me a DM on those social media handles. I would be happy to have a chat and answer any more questions that you guys may have. I think I've covered a lot today, but you know, there's always more depth that I can go into, isn't there? So please do message me. Do not be shy. I do not bite. And I think that is everything I generally say in these outros. I also offer in-person coaching. So I offer one-to-one agility lessons and also group agility classes that are either weekly or fortnightly. So if you would like to book a one-to-one, and these can be, you know, one-offs, regular, completely up to you, or if you would like to join any of my existing group classes, please pop me a message. If you're interested in group classes, again, message me and I can let you know what group classes I currently have running, days, times, how regularly, stuff like that. And if there's space, then you can potentially join, which is very exciting. I would love to work with you guys in person and help you achieve your goals for 2026, because we're getting there, aren't we? End of November, we're getting there. It's crazy. And lastly, please keep sending me your podcast topic requests, whether that is things you want me to talk about in solo episodes, or also guests you would like me to have on in the future, and also what you would like me to talk about with said guests. Because again, if you give me a recommendation or a topic request for an episode, you're pretty much guaranteed to have it turned into an episode. I always follow through with your requests, so please do pop those over too. But I will stop rambling at you now, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll speak to you all again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Bye, guys.